I've been trying to figure out how to start this for quite a while, and I just can't. I think I'm trying to achieve some kind of perfection that just isn't going to happen. And now I'm like a third of the way through the remodel already, and I haven't actually posted anything. So I have a ton of footage from when it began, and we'll get to everything in pieces. But today we're just going to run through the house and in the property, of course, and see what kind of stuff we got going on. Talk about a few of the different projects. So let's get it straight. I'm not rich. You can do this without a ton of money. The homestead idea is very, very popular right now. People want to do it, and you might want to know what goes into it. And I winged this shit. I winged it hard because there really wasn't any other way to do it. And we'll get into how we ended up in Lee County, Virginia at some point here. But the fact is, we came to this area looking at a property that we didn't actually get. I bought this, and this was supposed to be the backup property. It had a giant building that I could store all of the equipment and tools in, and a house that we could live in, at least during the time that we were working on the other property. But that didn't pan out that way, and we changed gears and decided to just keep this property, because this property ended up a lot cooler than we initially anticipated for the purposes of what we were trying to achieve. So this is a 15-acre piece of land. There's a 100-year-old house buried inside of that house up there. So around 1997-ish, sometime in the late 90s, this property was remodeled. Haven't quite got the whole gist of what exactly happened there, but an addition was put on. And the side of the house that you're looking at now is there's the house. The side of the house that we're looking at is the addition. The house was brought this way. A second story kind of was created. We'll take a walk through it. I really kind of think it's cool. But what's neat about it is there's a 100-year-old house buried inside of there. But essentially, somebody went 3/4 of a mile, and they just didn't quite hammer it home. And so we're picking up where they left off, and of course fixing some things. After 100 years, the old footings have failed. The house sunk a little bit. We had some issues to deal with there. We're going to talk about some ways to make money, and we're going to talk about some ways to save money. And some of those ways are going to involve breaking some rules. 2026 and shit kind of sucks. And so you're going to have to start thinking, we had to start thinking a little bit outside the box, and deciding which rules we'd actually like to follow and which ones not, because not because we want to be rebels or because we want to be assholes, but because life is supposed to be more fun than this. That's how we ended up here in the first place. I left Phoenix because Phoenix got crowded and people became assholes, and it was just time to leave. No offense to the Phoenix people, but y'all, the people who've been there for a long time, they you know what happened. I will plug some products and places. Right now, these are literal, legit plugs that places that I actually like, and companies that I actually like, products that I actually like. Should I get to a point where somebody wants to pay me to test their tools or whatever, or Milwaukee wants to send me something, go for it. But I will assure you that I will not put a good word on a product because somebody paid me to do it. So come on, let's get in the house. Let's go check this shit out. So their idea for the garage was pretty cool. Again, just didn't quite go all the way. So what I think is cool about this garage, first of all, is that you drive into the basement of the house. Kind of cool. So it goes way back, and it's very oversized. So I can fit, a 2500 A Chevy 2500 long bed truck fits in here with room to spare. I could take the axles out of both sides. If, you know, it's a huge garage. This wall here did not exist. So I wanted some separation between what is the garage and what is the rest of the basement so that we could put a laundry room over there. And this is actually going to become a bedroom. Kind of strange. I had some extra windows, so I slapped a window in here. We'll get to that another time. But for the time being, this is going to be used as our gym. Just a place for the gym equipment without having to be technically in a garage. But this is being set up right now. It's just kind of full of materials. But this is going to be set up for being an actual workshop. This is going to be where everything goes down. All the tools will be in here. All the materials will be in here. So that when I got to do maintenance on all of these cars and trailers and stuff like that, everything fits in here. I can drive the skid loader in here. At least I'm pretty sure. Haven't actually done that yet, but I'm pretty sure it fits in the garage. Everything fits in here, trailers, all that, so that even in the middle of wintertime, if I need to work on something, I'll be able to pull it in here and get some work done. Now, I'm a little short on light right now, so it's not exactly the brightest in here, but this was the old air conditioning system here. I really don't like the way they ran stuff. There's a creepy crawl space underneath of the old house that I really don't want to spend a lot of time in. So everything that ran through there is being deleted. The old air conditioning system was shot when I got here, and I decided to put mini splits in everything because they're just incredibly efficient. And at this moment, it was the smartest play for this house. And we'll get into the air conditioning system at a later date. But right now, these are some of the appliances that are sitting here waiting, ready to go. The laundry room is going to go in this back corner. So there's a little bit more framing that's going to happen in this room. I just put up this wall because I came out here with some extra windows and a door and stuff, and I was just trying to get them off the floor and kind of create the separation. So right now it's kind of just a storage room, but eventually this will get finished out, and even the brick walls will get drywalled, and it'll just be a nice clean little room. This door back here, I'll go ahead and flip this around. This door back here was nailed shut when we bought it, and it turned out it leaked really badly. Luckily, the concrete is correct because the leak would come in under the door and it would flow over to the garage door and just flow back outside. But we didn't want that to happen, especially since this is now a gym. So what needed to happen was we busted out the lip of this door and raised up the concrete and kind of brought the door up a little bit too, in order to make sure that it was higher than the driveway so that the water couldn't flow in here anymore. It was not a, it was kind of a pain in the ass, actually, but totally worth it. And now the door works perfectly fine. So let's head upstairs. So like I said, I've gotten really far into the remodel before I actually shot anything for the purposes of posting. I mean, there's a lot of footage. I'll be able to go back and we'll be able to talk about some of the original conditions of the home. But here's the basement door. So we come out of the basement right here and enter into what is new space. This is new house. This was only 30 years old. This was the addition. This is on top of the garage. Kitchen is this way, and this way went towards the old house. Right here, exactly here, is where the new house ends and the old house begins. And literally, as you would step over this line, you'd start to walk downhill. And turns out, since we've straightened it, it was about 3 inches lower. So the house had sunk, and nobody decided to do anything about that when they did the remodel. So it was just left that way, and the floor was bouncy, and it just wasn't very good. What we essentially decided to do was, right where the new house ends and the old house begins, we laid down what were referred to as sleepers. We basically used a method called scribing. I'll make a video about it later. It's a pretty cool little technique. But essentially what we did was we took 2x4s and we cut them in such a way to perfectly flow with the floor so that we could level the floor. And then we took this room that was initially the front room, the living room of the home. Because now with the addition, the living room was too big. It was an absurdly large space anyway. So we framed it into a new bedroom. Now this home was originally a 3-bedroom house. And when they did this addition, though, they accidentally deleted a bedroom, because this wall that I'm looking, that I'm touching right here, this was the exterior wall. This was where the house ended, and there was a window in this bedroom. Well, in order to put the addition on and move the house this way, that window was deleted. And in a real estate scenario, we call that egress. It has to, a bedroom you can't call it a bedroom unless there's a way to get out if the house was on fire. So technically, you can't call that a bedroom anymore. So we're calling that a den now. And we created a new bedroom that actually has a nice egress window. And then we deleted what was the old front door. And I'll show you that when we get outside. But let's go ahead and step in here. So that door used to be right here. So there was a door here and a window here, a tiny little crappy window. And we decided to delete all that. It was a shitty door anyway. Found a wasp nest inside of this thing that was like, I touched the drywall, it fell in. The wasps have been making this a home for many years. Okay, so now we have a hallway. This was never a hallway. This wall wasn't here. This was all open, and this was the doorway that led into the bedroom that was no longer really a true bedroom. And so this was a bedroom before, and there was a fireplace right here, and old ancient fireplace. And when I removed the fireplace, it became obvious how close this home was to burning down at one point. The original home, none of the walls are straight, and I don't mean by a little bit, I mean by a lot. And so in this particular room, once we've leveled the floor out and brought up the back corner here, came up almost, I think it was almost 3 solid inches compared to the new part of the house. So once we did that, we then framed new walls, completely new walls in here, all the way around. So that we basically built a house inside of the house, because somehow they got the siding to look straight outside. I'm sure I'll figure that out someday when I take the siding off. But I came here with some extra windows from a house that I didn't put them, my last project, I didn't put them in. I had this idea for an addition that I didn't do, and I brought the windows with me, and so we were just kind of sticking windows everywhere. And so I put 2 big windows in here, and you can see kind of, there's dust on everything because I've been doing the drywall in here. But the old window is still in the hole. And when I get the siding off, which is going to be a next year project, we're working on the inside first. When I get the siding off, this will become much bigger. I'll cut this open from the outside and we'll trim it out appropriately, and the room will have bigger windows. But this needed to be done in order to straighten the window. We also discovered that there was no insulation in any of the walls. The walls had paneling on them. I pulled the paneling off. There was no insulation inside the walls, nor was there any in the attic. And that actually still remains a problem, but I've left myself a little access hole here. It's one place in the ceiling that I haven't fixed, so that we can go back and put blown-in insulation in there as soon as I get done with the main part of the project. So again, fireplace was right here. So we basically, and there was a closet here, but it was like a super, super janky made, like, I don't want to insult anybody who built this place, but like, Bob the Builder came in here and slapped some shit together and like had this like janky ass closet. So we took the space and made 2 closets, because again, in order to be able to call something a bedroom, not only does it have to have an egress of some kind, it has to have a closet. So closets, and then on the other side of this wall, obviously, is just the closet for the bedroom that's behind it. Now, what's really kind of trippy about the fact that we buried an old house in here is that this wall right here is now like 9 inches thick, because there's a new wall on the other side, there's a new wall on the inside, and then the void in the middle that contains the old house, because tearing it down was just stupid. We still haven't even really figured out what holds this damn thing up. It's just, I don't know how old the house is yet. Once I get a little tighter with my people over at Building and Zoning, I'm gonna find out like exactly what went on here over the last 100 years. Okay, I haven't really cared. I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do regardless, because I don't give a shit. But it would be cool to know, like, how old the actual house was and like if anybody applied for any permits for anything. Not that I'm gonna, because I don't give a shit about permits either. So this is now gonna be the new entry door. We're about to replace this. This one leaks a little bit. Got a nice new one coming in, or it's here. It's on the porch. It's gonna go inside here tomorrow. Um, nice new door here. This is gonna be the entry. It's gonna be kind of an unorthodox entry. But you're going to enter into what is, the new living room here. And then once we turn around here, the dining room and the kitchen is back here. But I left this wall open intentionally because we have mini split heads to mount in here. And the line sets and the condensation line drains are going to go straight down into the basement. Same thing here. I have to cut a hole in the wall somewhere around here so that I can put the 12,000 BTU unit right here, which is going to be for the living room, dining room, kitchen. And all that stuff has to run down into the basement so that I can tie it all in outside. So some things were left intentionally open, even though I have been doing some drywall, because the bitch in here is the ceilings. Now, these have mostly been sanded. You can see some of it still. Yeah, you can still see this part of it here. Textured ceilings. The ceilings were all textured, all of it, and it's terrible. It looked terrible. I don't understand why textured anything is a thing. In Arizona, it was a thing. I hated it, but for the autistic people of the world, stop doing fucking textured ceilings. We hate it. It's terrible. It looks like shit. But I've sanded it all off except for this one spot. There was some shit underneath here, and so I didn't do it. So also ignore my hair. I swear I'm not a bum. I just haven't had a haircut for a while. Now we're outside. The door is right in front of me here, the new entry door. And so you walk out to this patio. Deck's pretty nice, needs to be redone, but for now it's going to work just fine. And then in the back corner, I don't know if those 2x4s are in the way, but the back corner where the fence meets back there, that's where the 4 perfectly legal by the state of Virginia cannabis plants live up there. So there'll be a continuity error because later on I'm going to plant them, but I've already planted them because I didn't have a lot of time today and I wanted to make sure that got done before I started filming shit. So, but we'll get to that. You'll see how those got planted up there. So now if we just turn around here, this is going to look weird for a little while. And this is kind of just the benefit of, I don't know where the fuck to put this. This is just kind of the benefit of being your own contractor. You can do whatever you want. You can decide what you want to live with. And luckily, this portion of the house is underneath of, there's an overhang here for like a little porch type of scenario. So it's not going to get wet anyway. I went ahead and just kind of cleaned it up just for the sake of, but I really wanted this wall to be done. I wanted that door gone because it leaked and there was wasps in it and shit. So this is just the way it's going to have to stay until I get around to doing the siding next year. So if you hate it, sorry. So from off the porch here, you can see how the driveway goes down. The driveway goes down and wraps around back to the road. And so a quick note about security. Cameras. People, you got to do cameras now. Everybody's out for their own. This is probably not a place, an area of the country where I would need this. Everyone's very friendly here. And I kind of been clowned a little bit for some of the security stuff that I do. But this is 2026 and people are out to get their shit and they will come take your shit. And if you've watched as many crime shows as I've watched, it can happen randomly. You never know what can happen. So you got to have security these days. So we've got cameras. There's an 8 camera system in this house. 6 of them are outside, pretty much giving me a view of everything that is important. And then there's 2 cameras inside because you want to have some kind of door coverage. They're just in main living areas, not in the bedrooms or nothing, but we've got coverage of the 2 entrances to the home so that you can't get in here without getting caught on camera. So continuing the conversation about security, you can do ring cameras. Ring cameras, perfectly fine if that's what you got to do. And if you have a hard time getting the wires where they got to go. CCTV can sometimes be difficult. I prefer CCTV, which stands for closed circuit, meaning there's no wirelessness to it. There's wired cameras go directly to a DVR that records things. Well, if you can take the DVR, if someone could just steal the DVR, then your system is worthless. Safe. Got to have a safe in your house. I'm not going to tell you where I'm going to put this because that would be stupid. So, most safes come with a little plug in the back so that you can run wires into them. I like to run my wires right through the wall, right into the back of the safe. That way, somebody comes in, they can't get your DVR. Your DVR is locked up. So at least if they came and stole your shit, you can find out who it was later. I'm standing in what is the dining area, and then the kitchen is behind me. Now the kitchen will get a remodel, but it's not being remodeled right now. Let me see if I can get a little more light in here. So the kitchen is gonna get a remodel because it's just not exactly my style. The mauve colored countertops are not exactly my thing. But ignore my mess. This is not an OSHA job site, so there's gonna be shit everywhere because I don't care. I'm a stoner. I work however is convenient for me. So the chaos makes more sense than it appears to make. So eventually new kitchen, but right now these cabinets are fine. Again, this is only technically this is only a 30-year-old kitchen. It's really not that bad. What I don't like is that for convenience, they've punched all of the sewer lines and water supply lines up straight through the floor when it really wouldn't have been that much more difficult to just put them inside the wall. So when the kitchen gets remodeled, we'll be cleaning up and kind of modernizing the ideas a little bit so that the fridge and everything has outlets that come out of a wall instead of pop up through the bottom of a floor, because that just says 100-year-old house to me. I don't really care for that. But new appliances, obviously, because everything in here was kind of old. But the cabinets and everything are going to stay. There's going to be a new floor in here. And I'm going to take it as far as I can take it, but the new floor will end abruptly on the other side of this counter. And then it's going to have to stay that way until we get around to the kitchen remodel. So that's going to get a little strange. But, once again, when you can make up the rules yourself, it's kind of up to you. You decide what you can live with and what you want to do. And this is about saving money. So, I bought the floor for the whole house, but we haven't gotten to that project. We haven't gotten to that part of the project yet. So we'll just stop. We'll put a pin in it, and we'll come back to it later. So now this is my favorite thing so far, like complicity wise, that we've done. Wasn't really expecting to go this far with it, but it turned out kind of cool. But the idea was, they did the same thing that we've had to do. They're burying the old house. So there was this big wide gap right here between the door and this wall. And we didn't really know why they did that until we opened it up. And there's an old house in here. The original house, the original exterior was right here. And just like we did, somebody else has just been burying it inside. So right here was a pantry, and the staircase that goes downstairs to the basement is right here. So that's why there's this weird angle at the bottom. I'm not sure if you can actually see it on the camera, but there is an angle here. And they just ran the flooring up there, and I kind of saw what they were trying to do, but it really just didn't work. And there was a door on this, and it was just a silly cubby anyway. So when we remodeled the bathroom, which is what we've just essentially completed here, the building of it, not the actual assembly, I suppose you could say. We wanted to be able to continue to put a 30-inch door in here, but actually have casing on here. I can't even describe to you how it was done before because it was absolutely ridiculous. But we had the same problem here where the floor of the new house was dipping off. Now somebody tried to fix that. They tried to do what we did with the sleepers, and maybe the house sunk more in the last 30 years, but I think the more likely scenario is that they just kind of phoned it in a little bit. They weren't really going for it. So there was still a 3/4 of an inch drop from when you walk in the door to the back part of the bathtub, which it was too much for us to live with, and we ripped the whole thing apart. And then decided that in order to make sure that our door would fit in a more conventional way was to just delete this pantry and move this wall backwards. So now this wall is not going to line up with that wall, but that's fine. This is going to get drywalled, and this will just become a cubby where we can put some shelves in it. You know, have an idea for my girlfriend's cats. You know, do a little cat cubby kind of thing here. You know, but that, you know, whatever. I don't give. It's not exactly part of the plan, but you know, it was the idea of removing this stupid pantry, because when we get to the next part here, there's going to be a new pantry. So this became obsolete anyway. It's too small, needed to be bigger anyway. So deleted. Here in the bathroom, now the walls are actually straight. This wall they built, we decided to leave it. Turns out that when we opened this up, we realized that this was never a bathroom in the first place. This was just a really big bedroom. And I don't know if it was during the remodel 30 years ago or if it was sometime previous to that, but somebody tried to put a bathroom, or they succeeded. They put a bathroom in here. It just wasn't great. There was a big long vanity here, and then this toilet was on this side of the room. So when you sat on the toilet, you were literally putting your knees right into the drawer of the vanity. It was the strangest thing ever. And then, of course, the plumbing was punched up from the floor, from underneath. I just don't care for that. So I moved the pipe 8 inches back, and now it's inside of a wall like it's supposed to be. And then there was a tub in this. There was a tub in here, and it was flipped around the other way, so the faucets and everything were on this side. I have turned this around to make my life easier, because this house was ran with CPVC. I don't know much about CPVC because I've never actually installed it. I've done remodels where I've had to kind of do a little patchwork with it. You can still buy it. But I'm guessing the reason why it's not widely used anymore is because it sucked. And I didn't really know that until now, because when I was tearing this bathroom apart, the old CPVC lines were literally crumbling in my hand. You could break them. They were so soft. And a lot of that was ran underneath of the old house, which has no temperature control. There's no insulation down there. And these pipes were just sitting down there. So, yes, this part of Virginia doesn't get that cold, but there were some sub-zero temperatures that we saw, really cold, maybe not sub-zero. We saw some cold temperatures that I think, sure as hell wouldn't have wanted exposed water pipes in the basement, because this house operates on a well. So you pop a line breaks, and your well is just going to run until you figure it out. And if it's in the basement that you don't go into, because it's a crawl space, not really a basement, you may never know. At least until your well pump explodes or some shit. So said all that to say this: I'm running completely brand new PEX line to the entire house. There's going to be a second bathroom remodel, not on the agenda at the moment. The other bathroom is just being kind of closed off for now, but that bathroom is going to need plumbing too. So this wall will be able to supply that later on, and it'll just be very simple. It's the simplest setup that I could make, so that if there's a problem, it's easily accessible. You open up a quick little spot in the wall, boom, there's your issue. And at the same time, making sure that all of the supply pipes are inside of the house, inside of a temperature controlled space, so that there's no possibility of a pipe freezing and blowing up. But we decided to reframe this entire bathroom. We did the same thing with the sleepers. And then what I discovered was the other side of this wall was the closet for the bedroom next door. We'll get there. But there was 18 inches of space. I'll explain it from the other side. It'll be easier. But we decided to make the bathroom longer, make the bathroom 18 inches longer, so that we could frame much straighter and better walls and make this actually perfectly square, for the sake of my tile job, because trying to tile something that's not square sucks ass. So all the walls are straight now, regardless of this one being almost 5 inches out of plumb. And we're moving forward with that. So tomorrow I'm picking up the tile and the cement board and the drywalls in the basement. This bathroom was going to start coming along really fast. What this was the original, here, I'll bet you, we'll get some light up here. This was the original kitchen. And was kind of converted to like a laundry room later, but there was a kitchen sink here, and leading me to believe that this was like the original kitchen. This was the end of the house. There was an entryway here that led into that room, which was a bedroom. Again, haven't figured out exactly what the hell happened in here. But what's interesting about part of this house, only 3 rooms, or technically 4 rooms, but the ceiling is low. I mean, I'm 6'3". This is probably less than 7 feet, and I don't know why that is. But there's a roof on top. There's a brand new house wrapped around this old house, and it's kind of weird looking to climb around up in the attic, but they've kind of tied in everything to the old house, and it's kind of unorthodox. And I've never put a roof on a house like this, so I don't know if I could even say they did it well. It works. But there's a roof up there that's obviously much higher than this. I mean, you walk to the other side of this threshold, and all of a sudden the ceiling is 8 feet. So what we're gonna do is this bathroom over here, or I'm sorry, this bedroom right here has the same problem. And this right here, like I can literally hit my forehead on this. So this old kitchen is no longer necessary. We're putting the laundry room in the basement because that's just a much more logical place for a laundry room. And I've got a couple more of those extra windows here that are going to go into that room and this room. So what's going to happen is I'm going to cut this room in half, a little bit less than half. It's actually going to be about 1/3 this way. And this is going to become the new pantry. So it'll be a nice spacious pantry. You can put all your kitchen appliances, extra food. We do a lot of bulk buy, which we'll get into, in future economic conversations. We're going to talk about bulk buying, and you're going to need places to put all that shit. So, paper towels and all that. So there's going to be a nice big pantry here that'll be a walk-in pantry. And then what'll be used for, what the other 2/3 of the room is going to be used for, will be just a giant master bedroom closet. My girl's got a lot of clothes. There's got to be at least one big closet in the house. This window right here, this nice, awesome window here, is going to replace these 2 pieces of shit. And there's going to be a nice big window here. So there'll be a natural light closet. So we're going to kind of go like Sex in the City style, baller ass closet right here. Now, problem with the ceiling. How are we going to fix that? It's just a matter of will and some material. This is just going to take some time. So this ceiling can obviously go up. Somebody decided to do it this way. We don't really understand why, but we will tear this down and we will create new structure above it so that we can probably tie it in and make it stronger than it was, and then raise the ceiling up. It's not that far. It needs to go up a foot, a little bit more than a foot to make this a normal room. But clearly the space is up there. We're going to find a way to do that. Okay, now this bedroom is temporarily being used for storage, so it's full of shit and I can barely walk in here. And I also underestimated the volume of dust that was going to be created by sanding all that stupid texture off the ceiling. And it has gotten everywhere. I was hoping it wouldn't get back here, but it did, and it's terrible. Problem for another day. But the ceilings in here, at least I don't have to sand this off because we're literally ripping them down and throwing them away. But this will be the same as that other bedroom that we did on the other side with the 2 big windows in it. It's going to be the same thing. The walls are not straight, so we will reframe some walls inside and put 2 symmetrical windows in that are the same size, so that the 2 rooms will be symmetrical. Now there's a door back here. I think you can see that on the camera. Once again, kind of strange because the camera is now on the other end of that old green kitchen, and I still don't really understand why this bedroom would have an exterior door, but whatever, neither here nor there. We're going to do the same exact thing. We're going to delete this door. No door, delete these 2 old windows and put nice windows in here. There's a beam in here that I've clocked my head on already a couple of times. All that same shit, it's going to go. The ceiling's going to come up, another foot. Now, because of just we're trying to get us moved up here. We're in a rental in another town because there's literally nothing around here. We're in a rental in another town right now while we do this transition. So, certain projects are getting priority over others to just try and get this place comfortable enough to get moved into. I'll turn the camera here and we'll do the other side, you know, once I explain this. But this was a Jack and Jill style bathroom. So what that means is there was 2 doors in here that led from, you know, from 2 different bedrooms. So you had to be in one of the bedrooms to get in here, but both bedrooms had a door that led into this room. And then we had another one of those kind of like really janky closets where it was just like, you know, some paneling and, you know, whatever the hell that is, and, you know, low ceilings in here. I don't think anybody really ever attempted to remodel this one. It's not exactly the greatest. So the first thing we did was, it's not completed because I have a little bit of a, let's just call it a 3-dimensional trimming situation that I had to deal with here. So I didn't quite finish this, but we erased the first door. Essentially, the first door is almost gone. It'll be gone once this one piece of drywall is in. And there will be no door here. But it does leave with a big bathroom. So when I get to the final room, which is the center of the house, the room that we're calling the den, the accidentally deleted bedroom, that's now in the middle of this whole mess of shit. And I'm creating a new hallway over there so that the entry door to get into this bathroom is going to now be in this wall. You'll come in from a new hallway. So there won't really be a traditional master bath in this house anymore. There will be 2 bathrooms, but just not one that you can access from a bedroom. So this will be the bathroom that actually has a tub in it, because what they've done here is a lot of space. It's a big, it is a big bathroom. This was a closet, and I don't know why they sucked up this much space for the closet. There was this little tiny vanity in here that was like a 24-inch vanity. It was super small. But there's all this really cool room in here. Now the window needs to go because I'm not a fan at all of windows in a bathroom. I think it's stupid, and this one sucks. So there will be no window. So when this room gets reframed, I'm going to have a lot of cool options. And one of the, I haven't quite figured out exactly how the layout's going to go yet, but there'll be a nice fancy tub in here. And a super long vanity instead of this closet, because now the house has real closets now. There won't be the need for this closet anymore. So there's going to be a nice big long, 72, maybe even an 84-inch vanity here. And since these doors won't exist, there'll be, plenty of room for like maybe some cabinetry so that I can store, extra bathroom stuff, towels. This will be the bathroom that your kids use, or you wash your dog in or whatever, because the main bathroom doesn't have a tub in it. So all of those accessories and shit will all be in here. Now, I believe, given how much room is in here and erasing these 2 doors, that I'll have enough to actually do the toilet room, which is just something that's really cool, in my opinion, especially in at least one bathroom in the house, so that you can have a separate little toilet room. I think those are cool. So I believe there's plenty of room here to do that. So this will be a fancy bathroom, but again, not on the agenda at the moment. We just need a bathroom, trying to get things moving so that we can get out of the rental. My 55-minute commute to work every day kind of sucks. So one thing at a time. All right, we're going to get a little bit gangster with the lighting now, just so that I can finish the tour here without having to make a big deal about it. So this is the den. This is the room that was accidentally deleted because there used to be a window over here that was, presumably there was a window. I don't know why there would be a room without a window, but there must have been a window here that they had to delete. So we put this wall in so that I can have a plumbing wall. This stud is loose right now because just by accidental coincidence, my plumbing pipe came through in the wrong spot, so I had to move that. But what I've done is I've saved myself an access point to the drainage system, because when you do mini splits, the head units, which is these guys right here, the heads for these still have to have a condensation drain line. That water has to go somewhere. So if you put it on a wall that's an interior wall of a home, it doesn't have access to an exterior wall, you still got to figure out where that water is going to go. Could have gone down into the basement with it and moved over, but I don't want to ever go into the bottom of this house ever again. It's just an old ass, spider fucking infested place that I don't really care to go. I'm also a little claustrophobic, and it isn't the largest space. So I'm creating a scenario here where nobody ever has to go down there ever again. So my point, or my plan was that when I put that that head here for the mini split system, that I would have access to the plumbing drain line, so that I can drain the water literally directly into the drainage pipes. This is now the back of the bathroom wall. That 18 inches that I was talking about, we gained from the bathroom, that was right here, because this used to be a closet for this room. They kept the closet, no window, but there was at least a closet in here. But there was going to be this nook in here because I've decided that this is now going to be a hallway. So all I needed was 36 inches. I just wanted a 36-inch wide hallway to go all the way to the end. Now, right back here in this back corner, there's going to be a door that leads into the master bedroom. That's going to be the bedroom that has that giant ass closet in it. And then, probably somewhere around right here, there's going to be another door that's going to lead into the bathroom. So each one of those rooms will now have new access points from a hallway. Now you're saying, well, where the fuck's the rest of the hallway? Yeah. So this wall here is going to continue that way, and you'll come around. There'll be just a big long hallway in this house. And now this room that the camera is sitting in right now is going to be what we're calling the den. And for the purposes of my time living in this house, this is going to be the grow room. So right now I'm growing my 4 plants outside because the grow room is not completed. Later on, those plants will be grown right here in this room. And we will talk about setting up a grow room. The grow room, since this is it's going to be a den, it's a small den, it's perfect for just growing some plants in. We also plan to do a lot of homesteading here. So, I'll be able to cultivate stuff inside before the spring hits and be able to grow much larger and more and healthier plants by starting them inside. So right here is an ancient barn. Again, probably, I'm thinking 100 years old. I have no idea. Blown away that it still stands. I'll try to get in there and get a picture or something of the what it's sitting on right now, and it's insane that it hasn't come down yet, but it's going to. I'm going to leave it up just for fun for now. It's not exactly a high priority situation, but I do look forward to tearing it down and getting rid of it. It serves no purpose to us, and it's located on flat land, which in this particular piece of property, since the whole damn thing is a hill, that's kind of a commodity around here. So I kind of want the green space. So eventually it'll go away. There's even a chicken coop back there, but none of that stuff is even rehabable. It's just garbage. So it's going to go, and we're going to tear that down. When looking for the property that we wanted, we drove 1,000 miles through Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, this whole area. We went through and looked at dozens of properties. Some of them were just vacant land. Some of them had houses on them. Trying to figure out like what would actually work for us. You do not need to be rich to do something like this. You're gonna need something. You're gonna need a little bit, and you're gonna need some tools. And depending on how you do it, there's some things that you're gonna need. But we're gonna talk about how you can get those things. We're gonna talk about what things you should buy, what things you shouldn't buy. Now, I was a realtor for 10 years. I was licensed in 2 different states, and I didn't sell a ton of homes, but I got involved in the business to help myself, to be able to buy and sell my own properties and to understand how it works. This is doable. You can absolutely do this. The homesteading thing is an awesome idea. You can get away from that life where you have to call somebody to fix your problems, and you become the person that solves the problems. And let me tell you, life gets a lot cheaper when you become the person fixing your own shit. You got to get some tools, you got to get some knowledge, but we have YouTube right now. Let YouTube be your friend. You can figure out how to fix just about anything. As long as you have a brain in your head, you can figure it out. And this could be a reality. Like, you could come out here and just dick around. I'm wearing reasonable working attire today. Most of the time I'm wearing socks and sandals. If you know me, you know that I hate wearing pants. I wear basketball shorts and t-shirts every day. You do not have to have that life where you wake up and go to some dumbass job every day. It's just it doesn't have to be that way. What I'm essentially selling here is the idea that the 9 to 5, or whatever you want to call it, is dog shit. And it is not the required, it's not required. You don't have to do it that way. You know, I've had some low points in life, and you know what I hope to relay in this is how to avoid making the mistakes that I made to get here. Some of the ideas you might not like, you know, whether it's a moral objection or a legal objection, you know, and call me fucking crazy, but you should wake up, every single person should wake up every single day and get to do exactly whatever the hell they want. Now, the only caveat there is that as long as whatever you want to do doesn't interfere with somebody else's journey, you know, as long as whatever you do doesn't harm anybody else, you should be able to do anything that you want whenever the fuck you want. Now, this is what I bought the place for. I wanted this big ass building because I wanted a place for all my tools, all my stuff. I wanted to be able to park all my, you know, the skid loader and the truck and everything that's used on the property. I wanted to be able to park those things inside. And so this was the main thing that I really wanted with this property. I mean, the house, I'm sure scared the shit out of people. I mean, I was the one who bought it because I was the only person who wasn't afraid of it. This is a 30-foot by 40-foot pole barn that just basically keeps the rain off of my stuff. The skid loader's in the back. I keep the truck in here when we're not using it. There's another truck back there that's getting sold. My girl's car is here underneath the cover. It just kind of keeps the rain off of some of our stuff that's not really getting used all the time. My last project of the day is actually to do some fluid maintenance on the truck. So as soon as I let you guys go here, that's what I'm going to be doing next. But this building is like really what had me. Like, you know, the house is the house, and it was ugly as hell when I bought it, and I didn't really consider that as much because it wasn't supposed to be what it became. But I just wanted this building. That pretty much wraps what I have for like the intro here. This is what we're doing. This is the plan. So as the work continues, I will take steps back to, you know, kind of look at where we started and how we got here. This has been a long process to get to this point, and that's it. That's all I got. I know a lot of people really want to do this right now, and you can do it. You can absolutely do it. You know, become your own advocate, become your own person, um, and you know, live a better life. You know, where you don't have to do what somebody tells you. Maybe I just have a problem with authority, but that's going to be it. I'm going to get started on this truck. I got a little bit of work to do before I get to go home today, so I'm going to finish that up, and see you next time.